Hey, good evening, everybody. My name is Tanya Scott-Thomas. Welcome back to Two Moons and a Microphone. You know, I love fantasy, but I keep it real. This episode of Two Moons and a Microphone is sponsored by House Bar. House Bar is the bottle shop remixed for adventurous drinkers, foodies, and home entertainers. House Bar is here to help people gather well, live fully, and celebrate intentionally. Visit House Bar in Navy Yard or Georgetown here in Washington, D.C. So, everyone, I am very excited to welcome my guest, Corbie Mitleid. She is a certified tarot master, psychic medium, ordained minister, author, writer. Did I miss anything? Channel?
You're good.
Former ElfQuest writer and warp, like everything person. I'm just so excited. Thank you for joining us, Corbie. Welcome to Two Moons and a Microphone.
It's great to be here.
So why don't we start a little bit with what all of those things mean for our audience, if you could take us through and what all of those things mean, because we have talked to a physical trainer about how to get a body like an ElfQuest body, and we've spoken with a certified mental health professional to talk about that health. So you are like the soul doctor, the spirit doctor. So I'm just so excited to kind of complete the whole being with you here tonight.
Okay. First thing I'm going to do is give you what I call the 30-second elevator speech because everyone wants to know how I got started, etc. So, when I was 9, I read a book called The Witch Family by Eleanor Estes. And instead of thinking, ooh, that's scary or ha, 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 I thought, and your point is, I knew there was magic in the world. I wanted to go find it. Fast forward to 1973 when I was a senior in high school, working part-time at Spencer Gifts. That was the year Live and Let Die came out with Jane Seymour as Solitaire, the card reader. They had the James Bond 007 tarot deck, and I bought it because we were all hippies then. You had your elephant bell bottoms and your David Crosby fringe jacket and your deck. So I read for friends for about 20 years. I loved the stories that I would get from the cards. All of a sudden, in the early 90s, I could do hands-on healing and talk to dead people with no training. That's when I figured the universe handed me my draft notice and said, hello, you're working for us. Part-time, while I did other things for my career, I have been an actress, an author, an inspirational speaker, a video producer, a legal assistant, an executive recruiter, and of course, writing for ElfQuest. Until 9/11, when I turned to my husband and I said, I need to do the psychic work full time. People need to know there are other answers out there. He said, I believe in you. Go do it. Since then, 6, 7 days a week, 14 hours a day, read about 1,000 people a year, and I get to get up in the morning. I don't have to get up in the morning. Certified Tarot Master I got from the Tarot Guild. It recognizes how long I've been reading, the fact that I can teach others, the fact that I'm a full professional. I'm a past life specialist, which I can see past lives like a movie runs, and I did that for Robert Schwartz in his series on life between lives and pre-birth planning. Psychic medium, channel, ordained minister because when I did a lot of traveling, you go to the southern part of the United States and they look at you and say, you doing devil's work. But I could say, no, I'm a reverend. It's pastoral counseling. And then go, oh, Reverend, we are so sorry. God bless you. Go right ahead. So it was protective coloring. Also, before it was the law of the land, if I had friends who batted for the same team and they wanted sacred ceremony, by God, I was going to do it. And that allowed me to do it. So that's everything in a nutshell.
Wow, thank you for that. So why don't we find out, like, how did you first join Warp Graphics? So we'll start at that beginning.
That story. Richard will joke about the $5 bounce check for the ElfQuest fan club. This is back in the early 80s. I mean, we're talking early. And I met Richard at a Philadelphia convention, chocolate cake in hand for him. And we talked, and what I thought was going to be like a 10-minute thing ended up 12 hours over lunch, over dinner, because he sensed that this was the assistant he'd been looking for. So I went up and visited them in Poughkeepsie, and it was an immediate click and lock. I remember Wendy hitching herself up on the kitchen counter and saying, well, I think we ought to hire her. And Richard looked at her and said, yes. And they're looking at me and going, but, because I was used to the very complicated interview processes for all of the normal jobs I'd had before. So I started with them, I think it was November 1st, 1983, as their administrative director, eventually also came associate editor. The administrative director was a fancy title for I did whatever Richard wanted me to do. And so off and on from 1983 to about 2000, I worked for them in the office, or I did projects, or I wrote. And like I said, in 9/11, my career took a completely different turn, but we stayed friends. I mean, they only live a couple of hours from me. So, in that sense, I'm still kind of with Warp.
I mean, I think you're still part of the Warp universe, and I think it's like part of the legacy of ElfQuest, and that's why I was so interested to talk to you. So were you a fan? Like, you had read the first magazines when you came up to?
I didn't like comic books, but I liked ElfQuest. It's the only one I read.
So when did you get interested in actually writing the stories? If you started out as an editor, and was this?
I think it was one of those things that just morphed. Because at that point I was so involved and invested. They entrusted me with it. I think the very first thing that I wrote for them was Khavi. Kim Yale had started it, but I think that she, if I remember correctly, became ill and couldn't finish. So I went from there, and then it was Hidden Years, then it was Wild Hunt, the ElfQuest Companion, the one that has, I think, Talit sitting and reading it on the front cover.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Okay. And it was a real learning process because, Wendy and Richard are natural storytellers. I am a storyteller, but more from life experience and analogy as opposed to fiction writing. So they were enormously patient with me. Richard is a superb teacher that way. And as long as they were happy with the stories, that was fine with me. But as you and I discussed a little bit previously, my best writing comes from here, and I'm very, very human. I'm empathic. I've dealt with, if you will, PTSD. So I was not able to keep my humanity away from some of the elves. And I think that they are better off written now with people who either are part other or understand other better than I do. So, but the human versus other helps me a lot with clients because, trust me, because I feel safe. And if you will, I'm an ambassador from human to other. There are a lot of clients that come to me and they feel lost and they want to go home, and this isn't home. And because of my abilities, I can tell that they are not, if you will, completely human. There are other energies at work. So with them, I'll say, okay, try this with me. I want you to close your eyes, and I'm going to say 2 words. I want you to immediately tell me which one resonates with you. Human, other. Notice it's the exact same tone of voice. If they are other, if they have this different energy within them, their eyes fly open, they start to cry, oh my God, somebody sees me. If there's any question, if they're not sure, they're human. And it has helped me help them live here. How to adjust, how to read. But it is because this is the whole past life thing. There are people that I refer to as half wings that come down here, and the soul energy has other energies partnering with it. I have always been human for God knows how many lives, but it's how my soul learns best. No foreign exchange student on, planet Zorch. Not me.
I think it is so interesting what you say, because so many fans of ElfQuest feel othered and have found their safe place and their home within ElfQuest, within the characters and the different archetypes. And I think that maybe you're too hard on yourself that you didn't write the other as well, because I think that through the characters, I mean, you took, not to get too deep into the minutia, but like you took like very central characters like Khavi, Ember, who, I mean, you crafted her entire like coming of age, coming into being a chief on her own. Those are all your stories, and they were so impactful.
I'm not saying that I couldn't write anybody.
Okay.
But with Tyr, who, Wendy's Cutter, Richard Skywise, I was Tyr. He was too human in how he felt, how he didn't trust, etc., etc., etc. He needed to be, if you will, re-engineered. And looking back, Mender probably wouldn't have been jealous. Mender would have laughed. Mender would have, here, fine, let's the 3 of us. But at that point in time, I was not able to grasp that elfiness. Okay. That's why, I look at what Sunny does. Fabulous. I look at what Wendy and Richard have done for years. Yes, ElfQuest has woven itself through my life since my late 20s. And, there are 2 phrases that I use all the time. One of them with clients when they're with someone that, it's not someone I've had before. I say differences make good sparks.
That's very Khavi.
And when I'm trying to get them to understand they need to be in something fully, I say you need to be into this head, hands, and heart. Those are phrases that I have used for so long. I know they come from ElfQuest. Other people don't tweak, but that's okay. I'm sure that everybody has, whether they know it or not, a phrase, a way of looking at something when they've been an ElfQuest fan for a while that has just woven itself into their lives so much that it feels, blood and bone. It's them.
That's very true. I think it's interesting. How much leeway did you have when you were tasked with writing these Hidden Years, Ember stories?
A lot of leeway. A lot of leeway. I'd always discuss storylines with Wendy and Richard. Does this work? Does that work? But they let me go to town. They really did. I loved Tyr. I loved Larrigan.
Yes.
And in the final quest, Wendy was very kind. We kind of modeled old Larrigan on my own father, who looked like Abe Lincoln, and um, kind of had that exhaustion at the end of life. So that was a big thing. Who else? Angriff, Gifa, the two kids of Ronald John, they were there. Who else? Corbassi. I mean, there were so many that they let me play with that it was astonishing to me that I got to create things that eventually some of them became canon. That's an enormous honor.
Oh, it is tremendously. Did you know then that Tyr was going to be Khavi's son?
I'm not sure. I think we eventually figured that out. But when I invented Tyr, he wasn't fleshed out. We learned about him as he told us. And sometimes that happens. A lot of authors will say, I was writing this and this and this, and this character said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that Tyr works with animals, Tyr is German for animals. They let me mess with a lot of German in there, which was awfully kind of them too. But he was my avatar, and he let me into the world of Two Moons in a way that I could understand best.
I think that is so interesting. I think that Tyr is such an interesting character because unlike a lot of the other elves that we encountered, he was sort of more than Skywise, he felt that abandonment, I think. And you see him working through that, through the stories that you wrote in The Wild Hunt and in Hidden Years. And then they do kind of heal it in the best Khavi way in Final Quest.
Yes.
Because she's so tough. And like, I always kind of like, I always say that I get Khavi. I don't know if she's like my favorite character, but she's very tough and practical. And I feel like my own mother is a little bit like that, just like not all that like, oh, sweetie, honey, all that stuff. Like I never really got that. So even though Khavi can be kind of like, the way that she left him, it seems very unforgivable, but she does save his life. So Wendy did like kind of give that softness in Final Quest. I'm just mentioning Final Quest because it's out now and I got my book. I don't know if you've seen this, Corbie, but it's like ginormous and it's so beautiful, and it does give like a wonderful like resolution to some of the characters that you invented, like Legrin. I think his going out with a bang with Krim was just chef's kiss. Love that so much. And the way that Tyr and Ember kind of figured out their relationship and put off their recognition so that they could be bonded and get that healing without having to have that extra challenge of like raising a cub and having, doing all of that stuff. So I think it was just a great way to, resolve those characters. You wrote an essay when Final Quest came out. It's on the ElfQuest.com website. And you said that Tyr is your avatar, but that Mender, like you heard his voice, like speaking to you the most. Can you just talk a little bit more about that? I find that so interesting.
When I would get stuck, I'd go outside and I'd sit and I'd let myself see Mender over here. And was it really Mender or was it one of my guides or my higher self? It doesn't matter. But Mender was enough different, meaning all the emotions, crazy cold emotions, a healer, and someone who loved, choking a human to death if he had to. And just, when I was confused, he was the one that I would sit and talk to. Do I have, well, of course, Tyr and Larigan, you had favorites. But of the other elves, Mender, definitely Mender. Because he drank life down very, very deep without apology. And I loved that.
He's very fierce in his desire to help or defend or hurt. Mm-hmm. And he's 11 on both ends of the spectrum. So yes. There's not a lot of characters that are like that in ElfQuest. Mm-mm. Oh, thank you, Clarence Oddbody. Yes. We have some wonderful comments in the chat. I would like to say hi to everybody out there. Clarence Oddbody and Draco Dawn Stars are ride or die fan. And hey to Derek. And I think we have a new name, Chris Garris. Hello, welcome. If anyone has any questions for Corbie, please put them in the chat and we will put them up about ElfQuest or about tarot or being a psychic medium, an intuitive counselor. Please put those there. I wanted to I had a question for you actually about one of something that has been on my husband and I's mind. We've been trying to build this dream house, and we've had a lot of obstacles. It's been going on almost 6 years. Mm-hmm. And another obstacle has risen recently that we found out. We've kind of gotten to a point where we're really at a crossroads of whether or not we should keep going to try to get this dream or to just kind of walk away and live another dream, do something else with our family and just cut our losses.
All right, there are a couple of ways that I can look at this. We're going to use tarot either way. The simple thing is 3 cards free if you stick with it, 3 cards if you walk away. The other is looking at, is it the land? Is it the house you're planning? Is it the finances? Is it something else, etc.? Which do you want me to
do? I think the main is, should we stick with it or walk away?
Okay. You guys can't see, but basically, by the way, for those of you who read, the deck that I use specifically for Tarot Illuminati by Eric Dunn, been my favorite deck since it came out in 2013. Gorgeous, lush artwork. So, 3 cards for if you stick with it, 3 cards if you don't, if you walk away. Notice I'm not even looking at the deck. I let the hands do it. All right, if you stick with it. First card. This is the Queen of Wands. I often say she's the woman who walks into a room 3 feet before she walks into a room. Hi, we're going to do it my way today. You didn't want to. I'm so sorry. There's the door. Bye. So this house is going to be like this in your life. It wants what it wants. Second card. You ever play whack-a-mole at the county fair?
Yes, I have.
This is the whack-a-mole card. Okay. 7 of Wands. What this means is you are going to keep going crisis to crisis to crisis to crisis. You'll always get it fixed, but there's always going to be another one. Last card, though, is the Happy Home card. You stick with it, you do get it. But if you decide, screw it, we're tired, we'll walk away, we'll do something else, you're always going to be in your head about it, not your heart. You're going to look at everything in your life and use this sword. Good, bad, truth, bull, keep it, dump it, cutting down. but you may find a little more pleasant time with your guy because the house is not the mistress, if you will, for the two of you. So notice that is not, yes, you should, no, you shouldn't, because that's your free will. I'm not the one who makes that decision, but this is how I see it for you. So now that you've seen the 3 and 3, what are your thoughts?
I'm drawn more to the sticking with it. I do believe it is a very unique property, and it has its challenges, but I mean, I do feel like we should be there. Like it is, like I do feel like it came to us and it should be ours for us.
Then trust it. Cards agree with you.
Oh, thank you. So there is a question from the chat. What tarot cards do you see Tyr, Khavi, and Memder as?
I don't. I keep ElfQuest absolutely separate from tarot. If anyone ever does a tarot deck, it's Wendy, and Wendy will make the decision about who is what. I would not dream of sticking my oar in that particular water.
Interesting. Wendy did hint at that, that something was in the works in a comment on the Facebook group when I posted about this episode. So stay tuned. It's very interesting. Are there similar, I believe they're called arcana, each
major
card?
All right. Here's what all right, I'm going to teach. I always do. All right. Major arcana. They have the Roman numerals and the names at the bottom. It's the concentrated God energy in the deck, and they run 0 to 21. Then you have, I need my glasses. Then you have the 4 suits. And one of the reasons I love this deck is because the suits are done with very different styles and people. For instance, wands have a Middle Eastern flavor. Cups are Scandinavian. Swords are Tudor England. Pentacles are Asian. Each of the minor suits has 14 cards. One ace to 10 plus 4 court cards. Page, or in this deck, princess. Knight or prince, king and queen. So it's just a matter of how they go together. Some people read the cards when they're reversed. I tend not to, because they give enough information right side up for me, and I can delve into them deeply enough. I don't think that reverse is necessary necessarily. Isn't that redundant?
Oh, we have another question in the chat. What's the line between telling someone what they want to hear versus what they unapologetically really need to hear?
Very simple. My ego is not in the way. I am the microphone. I am the tool. The example I use, a hammer does not go strutting around on our back deck and go, see that, Trex? Didn't I do a great job? No. The hammer whacked its head against a nail. Somebody else was holding the hammer. That's the person who built the deck. So when I read, my ego cannot be involved, because if it is, I could tweak the information. That's not right. It's like with mediumship. It's one of the reasons I will not do mediumship in a gallery setting, because I don't censor. And often I will get stuff that is intensely private for the person who wanted to talk to their dead person and shouldn't be in a public setting. So I tell people what I get. Leave it at that. But Clarence, to give you an example, I used to go up to Kitchener, Ontario 3 times a year. And Labor Day weekend, a woman sat down with me, and the cards, I apparently saw that she was going to take in a boarder, and then she might want to sell her house for financial reasons. And she looks at me and she says, "You suck." And she gets up and walks away. See ya. Who's the first person in my chair again the first time I'm back the next year? But this woman. She sits down. She says, "Last time I said you sucked." I said, "Yes, I remember. Because you told me that I was going to take in a boarder, and then I was going to sell my house, and I thought that was all bull. but my daughter got pregnant and moved home. And now I'm going to sell my house to help raise my grandson. And I still don't like you, but I want to know what else you see. Don't shoot the messenger. It is what it is.
Wow.
You know? And your free will is what determines whether you deal with it or not me.
I think that is the best type of counselor to be.
It is why my brand is now the no bullshit psychic. People had been hakken a chanik, which is Yiddish. It means banging on a tea kettle, making noise for nothing. For years, I should go on TikTok, but all I saw on TikTok for psychics were the fluffy bunny, hi, I'm little dancing raccoon. Let's see what your angels are saying today. So not me. Or the ones that I refer to as the Bullwinkles. If you all remember Bullwinkle, eeny, meeny, chilly, beany, the spirits are about to speak, and he pulls out a rhinoceros. I said, I'm neither. But when we came up with the idea of the no bullshit psychic, and I just went on there, notice, no fancy clip, nothing like my headshot. This is how I go. No makeup, t-shirt, that's it. That rang a bell for an awful lot of people. So doing it that way, people are not afraid that I'm going to be like the fakes. Oh, you have a family curse. How many in your family? 4? You have dog? $50 every family member, 25 for dog. He's small. We fix. I literally saw that happen at a show in Toronto. It's why I wrote my book, The Psychic Yellow Brick Road, How to Find the Real Wizards and Avoid the Flying Monkeys. Because
that is such a great title.
This woman ran out from, at a psychic fair, you've got booths on either side and aisles. And this was this was 250 booths. So this fake walks over and grabs this woman by her arm as she's walking down the aisle. And that's called hooking. And it's as bad as the other kind of hooking. And she says, oh, you don't need to pay $30, $40, $50. I do jump on for 10. Come. Drags the woman into her booth. 20 minutes later, we see this woman leaving, crying. And we find out that the woman had told her that she would burn 400 specially blessed candles. I bless real good, only $1 candle, at the Roman Catholic Church to prevent this thing, or her entire family was going to die in an accident in 2 weeks. And the woman bought the information. So, all right, somebody said I want the book. Here is the book, my dears. Right here. Sorry, it's
I think
backwards.
you can get it off your website, correct?
Yes, you can. You used to be able to get it on Amazon, but Amazon now wants your picture as well as all your other information. I just decided that's a reach too far for me. But since I self-published, you can get it from me, absolutely. So.
Oh, I think
I
Eric would.
really don't care if you never come to me for a reading after you read that book. If it keeps you safe with any other intuitive you go to, I did my job.
I appreciate that so much about you. Like you said, I mean, I think that sometimes when people hear the word psychic, I mean, they do get these preconceived notions in their head. And on your YouTube channel or your TikTok, you do just give this very settling, comforting, like, information to help anybody just kind of navigate this very tumultuous world that we are in right now. I found it very comforting since I've started following you. So I want to thank you for that.
It's one of the other things that I do on the TikTok. I was blown away. I think I got 45,000 views on what I wrote this past Sunday about, what happened with the start of Iran. It is not telling you everything that's going to happen, etc. But it is, I know we are going to get to the other side of this. Watch your news sources. Here are some trusted ones. Don't buy into what I call the porn psychics, the ones that are telling you it's the end of the world or World War III because they think it's going to get them more views and maybe they'll get you scared enough to come and have a reading with them. That's not a teacher, a healer. That's not an elder, which is what I refer to myself as. I mean, I'm going to be 71 on Sunday. It is my responsibility to pass on information to help people learn why being scared doesn't help. Get out of your lizard brain. It's very funny. Somebody said, I'm not a lizard brain. I have a soul. And I had to explain, no, your lizard brain is your basal ganglia and the amygdala. That's where all of your primal emotions are. That's not going to help you right now. You need to stay clear, sane, hopeful. But oddly enough, I actually saw what was going to happen in 1968 when I was 13 and had not a clue about psychic stuff at all. Got a vision walking down the street of a lot of what's going on now. Just 5 seconds of it. But at that moment, I knew, number one, I did not want to have kids. For some reason, they might not have a full future life. Maybe, they would have gone into the army and gotten killed or whatever. I don't know. And I knew that I was here to help somehow. And at 13, for that to hit you in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, walking down the street. But that very much has informed all of my life. It's why I do the work I do now. And doing the psychic work felt finally round peg in a round hole. There is something that I teach. It's called your sentence of passion. Your sentence of passion is not who you are or what you do or even how you do it. It's your vapor trail. When you go skinned into heaven on bald tires and fumed in the tank, and God hands you a beer and says, so, you get to go, I did this. Isn't it cool? For me, my sentence of passion is cross the bridge from fear to fearlessness and fly. When I can take somebody from point A to point B when they thought they couldn't make it, whack them on their shoulder, say, you don't need a flight plan, get, fly. I'm doing my job. And I've done it somehow in everything I've ever done in my life. I can do it front and center doing the work I do now.
That is so inspiring to, can you say your sentence again? Because I want to burn that into my mind.
Cross the bridge from fear to fearlessness and fly. Your sentence of passion is your rallying cry to others. Your motto is what you say to yourself in the mirror every morning. And for me, my motto is from Time Enough for Love, Lazarus Long. In life, moderation is for monks. Take big bites.
Wow.
I love that sentence.
That is so great. How long did it take for you to really you said you were 13 when you had this vision. Was there something in your family that that was kind of open to this more intuitive gifts? Were you
absolutely not? There are still some people in my family who think that I'm a carnival act who steals people's money. Live and be well, guys. But my father, he understood me. Like I say, it was not the greatest childhood. He made some mistakes, but he was still my best friend. And that's why my first book was dedicated to him. That was him. That was me, 1985. You may see a little bit of Larrigan in there.
Oh, wow. That is so neat. Everyone is saying, well, happy birthday, first of all, for your birthday on Sunday. I'm a Pisces as well. I'm March 15th. So,
I'm a Pisces with a Virgo moon and a Virgo rising. I may be a flake, but I am a really organized flake.
I think my rising is Leo and my moon is Capricorn, which I always get them mixed up, but I think it's why
an astrologer.
Right.
But at least I know my own chart. There's a wonderful woman in York, PA. Her name is Pat Dumas, who I think is one of the best astrologers in the world. So you might want to get in touch with her.
I will. Yeah, because when I see stuff on Instagram about Pisces, I'm like, that is not me. I am not like a complete mess. Like I don't know. So
that's like reading the two lines in the daily horoscope in your newspaper and thinking that's everything. No, it's not. And if you see that and, oh my God, that's what I have to do. There used to be an old radio show called The Cosmic Muffin. And that's what I refer to people who read those two things and say, Mercury is retrograde. I can't get out of bed today. You're a cosmic muffin, please. The stars impel, they don't compel.
Interesting. That's great. I love that so much. Okay, so let's see. There's Clarence is an Aquarius, but not sure when the 13th character back in. Oh, yeah. There was this thing that like all of these signs are off because everything, the universe is always moving.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm a Pisces either way.
Pluto's
So
not a, yeah, oh, please. There was a hilarious spoof on YouTube. I recommend you find it. It's spoof on the Encanto song. We don't talk about Pluto is what they call it, and it's just nails it. It's brilliant. So go find it.
Oh, yes, very good. Yes. Tamia, it's one of the SyFy sisters, and she says the word nerd in me loves impel versus compel. So
Silver Librarian is someone who's always on my TikTok. Do I do any ceremonies for my birthday? No. It was Dad and I have the same birthday. I was his 34th birthday present. When he was alive, yeah, we always did something. But, he would be 105 this year. He's been gone for 25 years, so there really isn't anything. My husband and I go out to dinner. That's really about it. At 71, I don't want to keep counting the years. I just want to live them. So
I'm here for that. My dad's birthday is the day before mine, so that's so interesting. Have that in common. I was his birthday present too.
Well, from what I can understand, people say, do we come back with the same people all the time? Dad and I are always in each other's lives, but interestingly, we're usually same generation. This time in my pre-birth plan, and you can learn about that through Robert Schwartz's book, Your Soul's Plan, I knew that I was putting a lot of spiritual growth on my plate, and it was going to be a very difficult life, and I would need a best friend as a father. So that soul agreed with my soul. We would do the father-daughter thing this time. And he is the only one in the family who really got who I was, got my spiritual side. And he showed up at our house 3 weeks after he died. He was very Lauren Isley. He assumed that, he'd be in the air like a leaf, blah, blah, blah. But he did show up, sparkles in the doorway. And, I just gripped onto Carl because I was crying for about 30 seconds. And then I looked at him and I yelled, I told you. And there's this wave of laughter. He occasionally comes in and helps me with the rare medical intuitive stuff that I do. There was a woman that I read years ago. She was 74 and she was still a nurse. She said, do me a favor, just do a check. Now, I know nothing about medicine, zip nada. But I sensed the rustle of a white coat behind me, and I pointed to the empty air and I said, I'd like to introduce you to my father, Dr. Jerome Dorkin. He was a fabulous cardiologist when he was alive, and he still does consults. Now, remember, I know from nothing about health stuff. But I put my hands out, I open up for the energy, and what comes out of the mouth is what's with the T waves. She looks at me. She had had an electrocardiogram, an EKG, a couple of weeks ago, and it had had abnormal T waves. What did my father do for 30 years as director of the heart station at Cooper Hospital in Camden, New Jersey, but read EKGs? So I turn to the empty air and I look at it and say, you're still a pretty damn good doctor, even if you are dead. He laughed. So
wow,
it can happen. They don't just poof.
Wow.
So
what a comfort to have that.
It is.
So I guess we have a little bit more time. And is it true that you are also a Trekkie?
Honey, I was 11 years old on September 8th, 1966, and I have never quit. Bet your ass.
Oh my gosh. Do you hear that, Trekkies? I know the SyFy sisters are just beaming because two of the original founders are late Subrina Wood and Fran T were watching Star Trek just like you.
Mm-hmm.
And now we are here at the 60th anniversary
Yes.
of Star Trek.
Yes. It's just amazing stuff. Since people usually ask, DS9. Absolutely DS9.
You were of the body, Corbie. You are in your SyFy fan forever.
Yeah. I mean, seeing the recent Star Trek Starfleet Academy when Jake showed up, oh, the tears, the absolute tears. And Sam is really becoming a very interesting character. Do I think they're going to make it the full 4 years? I really don't. I wish. But what we are seeing of them now in second season, which they have filmed, I think is good. And for all the people saying it's not really Trek, guys, get a grip. It can't be the Trek you knew. I've written an article called Be an Elder, Not a Boomer. And that's what I would say here. What's a boomer? The boomers are the ones that say, we had the best cars, we had the best music, why can't you do it this way, etc., etc., etc. And we know best, and why aren't you listening to us? And when I meet a boomer, even though I'm of that age, I say, because when we were kids, we did not have to fear being shot to death in school. We didn't fear that the earth might be uninhabitable by the time we were adults. We knew we could afford a house and a family, and we would get a job. We didn't have a disease that was going to ravage the world with no cure. This is everything that Gen Z is dealing with. It is our responsibility to be elders. What's an elder? An elder gets off the stage to let them shine. For instance, you don't plan the food distribution for the homeless, you let them do it. You offer information when asked. You don't say, but why aren't you doing it this way? And you become a third trencher. What's a third trencher? This is World War I stuff. The first trench was they went over the top. Second trench is where the reserves were. Third trench, food, medicine, supplies. So people of my age should be third trenchers. They want to plan feeding the homeless. They get the social media. They get the television exposure. We're in the back fixing the food and doing the dishes. It's not our shining anymore. And that's one of the reasons why I feel that the world will be made right by the younger generations, because they know that there's no more time to waste. It has to be done. And it's also one of the reasons, why I love being a teacher. As an elder, 71, I'm not going to be here in 30 years. May not be here in 20. I have to pass on every piece of useful knowledge I've got now. And so when I teach, my classes are small. I don't stand up there and pontificate. I make sure everybody is working the stuff. If I don't know something, I bring in the best teachers for them. That's part of what being an elder is about.
100%. There are, I think, the majority in Congress that need to get off the stage because, like you said, their time is over. And
I know. But, we could be talking 4 hours on politics because, I am political. I often refer to myself as a fading, what is it? Fading hippie, yellow dog, progressive Democrat. Now, I don't know if you know what a yellow dog Democrat is.
I don't know that term.
Historical phrase. people would say, I would vote for a yellow dog before I would vote for. So I'm a yellow dog Democrat, man. I will vote for a Democrat every time.
Okay, you heard it here, folks. Yes.
Yep.
Be a third trencher, and some of these boomers definitely need to get off the stage.
As they say
yesterday
in the South, got to get hit upside the head with a clue brick.
Amen.
But
Amen.
you want to change things? Go volunteer for someone you believe in. Go help. Vote. Oh my God, vote. Please. Yes, I know there was problems in Texas, but to say then it's not going to count is what they want. Vote.
Absolutely.
Vote like your life depends on it, because it does.
It does. And this is a critical year for everybody. So,
yes,
everyone who stayed home, this is partly on you, because we showed up.
Yep.
Corbie, this has been an amazing conversation. Thank you so much for coming on Two Moons and a Microphone and talking to me. Thank you for the reading. I'm going to share that with my husband. I know he's going to watch this at like 2.0 speed tomorrow.
I have no idea where we were going to go with this, but like I told you before, I've done like 400 of these in 10 years. I can discuss just about anything.
Well, that's what we love here. We just love to have a conversation. ElfQuest is the entry point, but where we end up is in the stars. So I've just had the best time talking to you. Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone in the chat. You guys have been amazing. I love your comments and questions. I want to shout out Vanessa. Hi, Vanessa. Thank you. And Sunny Sister 808, thank you for joining us. If you are new here, please consider subscribing to our channel and like this video and leave a comment for the algorithm so that more people will learn about and enjoy this wonderful content. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of our new shows coming up. Next Tuesday, the SyFy Sisters are back with the live show. So tune in for that Tuesday at 9:30. And if you are interested in getting your brand in front of this eclectic, wonderfully engaged crowd, consider being a sponsor of our show. And also check out our merch. Proceeds go to support the Subrina Wood Legacy Fund. And you can find out about that all in the show description. Any parting words, Corbie?
Just that I'm delighted that you've got people who understand just how deep ElfQuest can run if you let it in, and how it can, I won't say change your life, but it can give you a perspective that most places won't.
Absolutely. Thank you. Everybody, shade and sweet water. Good night.